I'd say what you will. The fact is, economy is not going to be affected by this shutdown. Neither is stock markets. Neither is the bond markets. The 10-year fell to almost 4% today. I think it maybe closed at around 4.10. That's a very low rate. And we had record closes in the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones. So we have John Carney, financial journalist John Carney, who writes a daily Business Digest. Am I wrong? I mean, I don't really see what the heck the impact is of the shutdown. And by the way, the stuff we were talking about with Ted Cruz, who's a very smart fellow, you know, sure, non-essential people are being laid off. They may be permanently laid off, which is probably what Roosevelt's going to do. Non-essential people and non-essential programs. So if they're non-essential, who cares?
Right.
Why should the markets care if they're all non-essential?
Look, the markets don't care. Actually, the last time we had a shutdown while Trump was president, the market went up 10%.
Oh.
So it was really good for markets. It tends to go up a little bit. That was an extraordinary rise. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we get a rise again. Remember, we're hearing from a lot of businesses that they are having trouble attracting enough workers. One of the reasons the jobs numbers are low is because basically we're at full employment. One great source of workers is open up federal employees to private employment. Let them go. They get back into the market. They get jobs where they are producing goods and services that people buy. That's anti-inflationary. Government employment is inflationary because they're consumers, but they are not producers. So turning them into producers will accelerate the economy. This will be good for the economy.
Most of them are pretty well educated.
They're very well educated.
And the federal government pays for higher education.
And they would do better for the country. But, you know, a lot of people talk about, like, public service. They will do better service for the country in the private sector than they are doing in these government jobs, as you were saying, that are non-essential. And many of the jobs that they're going to let go are people who, frankly, are in jobs that are not on board with the democratically elected government of the United States.
I mean, you're right. In other words, conservative principles.
Right. They're
Trump.
pursuing far left principles, sometimes not even because they want to, but because they are in a job where they are required to. They should be let go. All of those programs should be terminated. Roosevelt is right. He has the authority to do this. The Democrats have really bungled because Trump can't just, you know, there's a lot of controversy over, you know, how many people he can fire from agencies if Congress has appropriated money for them. Congress hasn't appropriated the money for them.
Correct.
He can get rid of them.
That's correct. And Russ Vought's exactly the right guy in the right spot right now. Now, we did get today the ADP private sector employment fell 30-something thousand jobs. I guess they won't publish the jobs number on Friday.
Right.
We'll have to wait. Not that that number is going to mean anything. But this is a private survey. Is there anything to this survey? Should we be concerned?
I would be concerned. Look, ADP has been sort of all over the place. They had to totally redo the way they did it during the pandemic. But you know what? The federal government's jobs numbers have been all over the place.
Right.
They get hugely revised. I'm not sure ADP is really a worse guide to the economy than the Department of Labor's jobs. I think what this is evidence that the Fed has been too tight for too long. This isn't out of sync with what the Department of Labor numbers were showing. They were showing just 29,000 jobs on average for 3 months. So it doesn't take a lot for that to flip to a negative number.
It's a stall speed.
Exactly.
I mean,
because Jerome Powell stubbornly, politically refused to cut interest rates because it doesn't like Donald Trump's trade policy.
Yeah. Doesn't like Donald Trump's pay. He doesn't know anything about trade policy. Anyway, it's not in his remit to know about trade policy. One other thing I wish we could change, and maybe Russ Vought and Donald Trump will change this, but Lisa Cook, allegedly with mortgage fraud. By the way, people looking at this are showing more and more. She had 3 problems with her mortgages, but none of them were in Washington, D.C., which is where she worked.
Right.
And she's got some splaining to do about that point.
She lives somewhere around Washington, D.C. as well. So she maybe have a 4th house. I don't know.
Well, there may be a 4th house, and she didn't want to declare it. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is letting this thing go until January. I don't know why. She's going to be allowed to vote on several of the next Federal Reserve meetings. What's up with that?
It doesn't make any sense. The Supreme Court should have, at the very least, put it on hold, said, look, we're going to say you are, they put her in suspended animation. Don't go to the meetings.
Yeah.
You're not a Federal Reserve governor. But also maybe sent a message. This isn't a final decision. Then the Senate wouldn't have confirmed somebody to replace her, so you wouldn't have a problem of, two governors in that place, maybe. But they're keeping her there while these allegations are out there risks the credibility of the Fed, because if she is found to have been a crook, a mortgage crook, then that's a huge problem, because you will have a monetary policy being set by somebody who is a mortgage cheat.
Yeah, I know. That's a big thing. You're right. Their credibility will suffer enormously. John Carney, thank you very much. We appreciate it.